to go in the mountains. I just wonder if that was the thinking, whether that might just backfire on them. Because Jefferson Zapata, well, I mean, his lead is over 2 minutes to the second rider on GC, which is his fellow teammate, Guillermo Silva. In fact, the time gap between himself and Silva is in fact 1:48. Then Mario Aprizio from Burgos sits at 1:52, third on GC. Manuel Torossi, who was in yellow after stage 3, is 2:20 back. It has been a fascinating tour in terms of the tactics, or some might argue the lack of tactics. Got to drive the stage yesterday, and for a lot of these riders it's going to feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. The thing with this part of China, it's just so vast, it is just so big, and this road will look like it goes on forever. They will reach that height of 12,660 meters, or just over 12,660 feet, just over 3,800 meters. And then it is one of the great descents, and it is pretty much all downhill from there, right through to the finish line here in the beautiful little alpine village of Kian. It's about a 30-kilometre descent through to the finish. In fact, they go from 12,660 feet down to an elevation of just under 9,000 feet in 30 kilometres. Not a difficult descent. A couple of corners that will test the riders. We just go back, look at some of the sprint ace points from earlier today. And both Willie Schmidt, Lucas De Rossi from China Glory Mentec looking to try and secure those points. And it was Schmidt. De Rossi crossing the line in third. And a good performance there from David Caburo to pick up those green jersey sprint points. And this was the King of the Mountains earlier as well. And it was Willie Schmidt who picked up the 5. Neither of them really going to contest and challenge Mario Aprizio at the moment for that polka dot jersey. Most of those riders picking up King of the Mountain points for the first time throughout this 23rd edition of the Tour of Qinghai Lake. Interesting to go back though and just have a look at this lead group, in fact, to see if they are organised. Been brilliant throughout most of the stage, but we did certainly see a real lack of cohesion. And now we're at Fagundes, a man who many people picked to win this tour, is having to do the work, and some of these riders just coming through and just almost soft pedaling up they at times. Or perhaps it's just the altitude and the impact it is having, but you do sense that the peloton is going to swallow them up at some point. 53.9 kilometres remaining. Just one of these subtle little undulations. You can just see that wind is coming from left to right as you're looking at it. That's why we've got that stagger situation with the riders spread out across the road. So it's coming across for the riders, that's coming from right to left. As we're looking at it, it's left to right. But nothing of real significance. Environmental conditions, other than the fact that we are up at 11,000 feet, are probably as good as you're going to get at this height. just dropping back through the peloton. There is the Alpes and de Koning, waiting to see if they can lead out there. Man, they were brilliant yesterday. And Wiets Musen is number 17 for Alpes and de Koning. I think it was Ramon Sinkeldam yesterday. Absolutely danced on the pedals, absolutely just drove it for the last 500 metres of the stage and just launched Jensen Plowright off the back to win the tour, to win the stage, his second. Won the first one in the first day in the downtown area of Xining, the capital city of the Qinghai region. So Eric Vergundy as well, he's either got to make a decision at some point. He's just not getting anything. You look at the frustration on his face. Well, clearly team orders have come through. There does not appear to be a lot of urgency now in this group. Is it a case of if they just simply burnt too many matches, do they just no longer have the legs here? Is it just not a group of absolute X-Factor riders? That might be a bit tough, but trying to sort of draw some conclusions on why for so long there was very much a one team, one dream approach, and suddenly it's become very disjointed. So the two teams that probably have the most to gain by this coming together on the front, Kaha Rule, the man in yellow, currently sitting sixth wheel, Jefferson Cepeda, and then of course there is Alpes and de Koning in their famous blue colours, sitting third wheel at the moment, Jensen Plowright, sitting about 9 riders back, number 14. It's in their best interest to bring it back because he's probably the best chance of winning yet again another stage. Really good effort yesterday from David Persico from Bengal, also Alexander Selby from Bengal. They ended up finishing second and third in that stage. They'll be looking to try and go one better. And also Timothy DuPont, who hasn't quite been at his best throughout this tour, won stages 1 and stages 8 last year in the tour, riding for Tartalito Azores. But now the pain train on the front, pulling the rest of the passengers, using just these subtle little downhills to give the body any little bit of relief they can. Try and bring the heart rate down. Try and just see if they can control their breathing at such altitude. Eating and drinking is going to be absolutely vital. Well, puncture here, so just have a look which rider possibly that might be. We did see earlier today, not part of the live coverage, but Eric Vergundy has dropped a chain and had to work pretty hard to get back onto that group of 5. He was clearly part of the break. So Alex Vandenbalk, he has been very, very good for his Tartalito Azores team. Now he'll change bikes and then try and work his way back up behind the vehicles and try and get back onto the main bunch. Their team captain, of course, is Timothy DuPont. Gianni Marchand and Torsten Demi are part of that Tartalito Azores team. Tell you what, they're well versed and well rehearsed when it comes to changing out the wheels, but like a Formula One tyre change. And he'll be wanting to make sure that the cluster on the back there is the same cluster as what he's been riding so that he can maximise his gearing correctly, making sure that there is no change in the gear ratios available to him. And now Saeed Savardez, the leading Asian rider, just dropping back. Man from Iran, who won the Tour of Iran, Azerbaijan, and he's been a 3-time national champion of his country. He's 38 years of age, so he's at the pointy end of his career. He's incredibly experienced. He was 8th at the Asian Games road race back in 2018. Now, Alex van den Broek clearly still not happy. So I just wonder whether he's got the right wheel on there. As I say, the gears are tuned to a cluster there at the back, or for non-cycling aficionados, those cogs. The smallest one there will normally be about an 11, which is their big power gear, and the biggest chainring on the back. Well, climbs here could be anywhere up to 27, 28. Every rider will have a slightly different setup in terms of the gear ratios available to them. And that'll be based on individual physiology and what they feel is best suited for each stage. Some riders will naturally like to push a slightly harder gear, or therefore have a slightly lower cadence. Other riders, well, they prefer to ride at a much higher cadence or higher revolutions per minute. I think probably the best contrast, if we can put all the skullduggery to side, we'd probably go back to the days of Armstrong and Ulrich, where Lance Armstrong very much was high cadence and Jan Ulrich very much a low cadence bike rider, and so they've just made a complete bike change here. Oh, this is no good. This will be incredibly frustrating for Alex van den Broek out of Belgium. The Tartelito Zurich team is a continental tour team out of Belgium. He finished 3rd at the Belgium National Championships back in 2022. He was 12th at the King of the Mountains at the Tour of Helles and earlier in the year, so he comes in with some good form. But it's a lonely place to be. He'll probably be looking to just sit on the back of that team vehicle perhaps and take his chance and see if he can get maybe pulled up the peloton. And you can see the peloton now. This group isn't going to get swallowed up, and Fagundes from Burgos just so incredibly frustrated. He's just decided to have a go himself. I think he's just had enough, saying to himself, well, look, if you're not going to buy in here, I'm going to go alone, see if I can get to the summit of the next and last climb in this stage at 12,666 meters. And now the lonely ride back for Alex van den Broek. A few more riders now looking to try and just break ranks and see if they can go up the road as well. Not quite sure. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. Very colourful team is Aloha. One team that we just haven't really seen so far throughout this tour really fire a shot, that's Team Median. With just 2 stages to go in the mountains, you do wonder whether they are going to attack at some point. A very good little group, the Colombians, with the likes of Javier Yamaika and Julian Cardona, Vilmar Perez, Victor Ocampo, I like this from Fagundes. He's a winner. He's a champion. Very unlucky last year. Well, I'm not sure that the Bardiani team who Henok mulbrhan was riding for, we say he was unlucky, but he basically led after 7 stages by a second over Henok mulbrhan. And in the final stage, we saw the stage victory go to Timothy DuPont. And really, there were no additional time bonuses left on the line for the group that included this man and Henok mulbrhan, but mulbrhan attacked and sprinted across the line 2 seconds clear, and therefore won the race by 1 second. Burgos felt that all the riders in that group should have been given the same time. Chief Commissaires didn't see it that way, and he was absolutely heartbroken. He'd somehow lost the yellow jersey and victory in what was then the 22nd edition of the Tour of Jinghai Lake. Basically lost it in the last 200 metres. So came back with revenge, looked brilliant on day 2. He felt that, well, Eric Fagundes is back, and then, as I said, stage 3, things just didn't go their way, and Manuele Tarossi got into a group and managed to stay away. And really, probably in hindsight, Tarossi's team, the VF Group Bardiani boys, should have done a lot more to chase that break down, as should the Astana team. But as it stands, it is Jefferson Cepeda from the Kaha Rural team who leads this bike race. I saw a shot there of Team Koracek. I like Eric Fagundes, just a street fighter, an absolute warrior. Says to himself, well, look, if I can get to the top of the climb, and we've got a 30-kilometre downhill run through to the finish. He's been out with a group of 6 riders for most of the stage. And then for some reason, a number of the riders in that lead group decided enough was enough, whether it be under team orders or simply the altitude had just got on top of them, and they just burnt too many matches and simply just don't have the legs. But Fagundes is certainly frustrated. It hasn't been easy for him. He dropped his chain earlier, had to get off, fix that, and that was up one of the niggly little climbs on this stage, and managed to ride his way back up. And they're sitting at 11,000 feet, so it's, you look at some of the mountains around here and you're thinking, well, if they're at 11,000, what are the height of some of the mountains in the background? It is a remarkable part of the world. Very sort of desert-like, alpine desert. And once they make the descent, it'll start to look more like alpine North America, with pine trees and a real sort of North American, Canadian feel, or even a European look to the terrain. And so the Kaha Rural boys still sitting there on the front, just up this climb. And rider has gone down. That's no good. That's one of the boys out of Median. And I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe just a lack of concentration. All these riders fatigue. Aldemar Reyes is the rider. So they'll make some quick adjustments. Reyes is 29 years of age. Just have a look here. Just not sure really what happened there. Just a lack of concentration. Maybe just a little bit of gust of wind. Some of the crosswinds coming across the road. Cannot underestimate just how fatigued these guys are. When you're tired, you lose concentration, you lose time. Easy to make those little mistakes. But he's got enough bike rider to get himself into the peloton. He's had 2 stage victories at the Vuelta Colombia. Did that back in 2022. He's considered to be a very good climber. He considers himself to be a bit of a general classification rider, so strong across the entire week or 2 weeks of any sort of major international tour. But how good have these boys been? Simply superb. Caja Rural. They just had numbers in the group on day 2, day 3. Day 4 they were superb, and well, yesterday it was always going to be a bit of a sprinter stage, so it was an opportunity maybe just a little bit. And Saeed Savraday, the man who was part of that break, has now been pulled up by the peloton, as has Schmidt Lucas de Rossi from the China Glory Mentech team, or certainly one of them. Now, keep an eye on the big man there in the Burgos colours under Okamika, 34 years of age. Here he is, he goes to the front. He is as tough as nails. Now, he'll look to try and just slow things down there a little bit. He'll just look to try and frustrate at the front of the peloton. So we do have one of the China Glory Mentech boys there trying to bridge across to Eric Fagundes. Eric Fagundes has got to make a decision. It's in his best interest to have a second rider with him. He did give them a chance, though. He did say, come on, boys, do some work. They didn't want to do it. And so he's just gone on his own. He had to make the decision. He realises that if he's to win this tour, he's just got to take his chances. He just can't rely on anybody else. And he's good enough. Look at the heart in the man. What a street fighter. What a warrior. Good, beautifully balanced bike rider. Now just start to see maybe some of the crosswinds just starting to play a little bit of havoc here with the riders. Got to say, Willie Schmidt, Lucas de Rossi, not the smoothest bike riders we've seen from the China Glory Mentech team. So another rider down, Ahmet Orkin from Sport Toto cycling team. All Turkish continental team. So maybe just another bike change. So a little bit of chaos and carnage across the top here at 11,000 feet. Just have a look. Did he get just maybe nudged? Did he? No. Yep, just maybe the crosswinds, just again that lack of concentration, so that wind coming from across their right shoulder, quite gusty. So now they'll just need to form a little group together, see if they can work their way back up to the front. Such vast countryside, and it will sort of almost feel like they're in no man's land. got about 14 or 15k to go, and then it's all downhill, and it's going to be a very, very fast downhill. These boys will be going down there at 100k an hour. There's a couple of tough little corners towards the bottom, but nothing that riders at this level need to be too concerned about when it comes to negotiating the descent. Do have certainly a split though. Big question is Alpecin de Koenig, is Jensen Plowright, is he still in this part of the peloton? Because those crosswinds have played havoc. I think Jensen Plowright might just be sitting back there, second to the Alpecin de Koenig teams on the left in the blue. Tucked in nicely behind the Kaha Rural boys. And now making his way up to Eric Fagundes after maybe getting some second wind is Lucas de Rossi. So Willie Schmidt is the rider from China Glory Mentec who's back in the bunch. And you can just now see the wind having real havoc. It is brutal out there, folks. It is tough. This is where you got to have a head like granite. You've just got to work through this. They are locked in the hurt box well and truly. It's a dark place. It's who can stay there the longest, who is prepared to suffer the most. And ask yourself which one of us is going to run out of talent first. So Fagundes now will be joined by Lucas de Rossi. Now, Lucas de Rossi is a French rider, member of the China Glory Mentec Continental team. 28 years of age, out of Marseille. Finished third at the Malaysian International Classic race back in 2020. Been a good, consistent rider over his career. Yet to have that big breakthrough performance. Will it come today? But just look at what the wind and the weather's doing up here on these plains. Up on this plateau. It is carnage. And good to see him won the tour back in 2017 there, doing some work. Jonathan Monsalve riding for the team cycling team. And he will make the country is still in. Crosswinders, with the way this road does tend to weave its way across these plains. At one point it can be across their left shoulder, and then suddenly you turn and that can become a tailwind, and maybe it swerves in a different direction and it's a crosswind, but it's coming from a different side. So very, very tough conditions. There is Henok mulbrhan, green jersey. Who currently sits 2 minutes 26 down on the yellow jersey, currently sitting 5th on GC, 6 seconds behind Manuele Tarossi out of VF Group Bardiani, who's 2 minutes 20 back on Jefferson Cepeda. And it's Mario Aparicio from Burgos. Currently wears the King of the Mountain colours. Then first and second on GC, it is Jefferson Cepeda, who is in yellow, and then Guillermo Silva, who is 1 minute 48 back. And so now 52 seconds, 41.9 kilometres to go. So still got this nasty little climb. And I can tell you folks, it is brutal because they're yet to hit the highest point so far on this tour, but it's going to come very, very shortly. 12,660 feet above sea level. Look at the chaos and the carnage in the background. Jensen Plowright from Alpecin de Koenig. Where is he? He'll know that if he can get to the top of the climb, he's got another good chance of winning this. Good chance it'll come down to a sprint finish. And we just saw him out to the left. As it is now the Astana boys who come to the front. Dancing on the pedals, making this as hard as he can make it. Henok mulbrhan, his teammate, sitting there in green, currently sitting 5th wheel. They the facial expressions of a lot of riders, and there is Eric Fagundes. I think he's just waved the white flag and said, you know what, we had a chance with 6 of us, but you guys really didn't put the effort into the energy in, and I'm just going to go back into the peloton now, rest and recover, and wake up tomorrow for stage 7 and maybe see if we can do something as a team and somehow find our way back into the yellow jersey. And now Lucas De Rossi's out on his own, but you do, it's only a matter of time. Big tall man. Certainly wonderful opportunity to grab some global television coverage for their trade team partners and commercial partners. Mentech, of course. Also great for those people that are out on the side of the roads, and it's a very sort of nomadic lifestyle up here at this height. A lot of farming, a lot of yak, goats. That is the split. Nice thing is, though, see if we can just pick up if, in fact, Jensen Plowright is the opposite to Koenig rider, sitting there about 10th. But once again, it is the Kaha Bora team. My apologies, Kaha Rural team, of course, that are doing most of the work. They have just looked so comfortable at this altitude. They've just really been in control of this bike race. They had 3 riders in that break on stage 3. They had Jefferson Cepeda, Washon, McGeoday, and Helme Gardino. And that was the day that put Manuele Tarosi in the break, because he was the other rider in that group. And it was stage 4 where things changed, and Jefferson Cepeda, along with Guillermo Silva, Adne Van Angelen, and Mario Abrizio, ended up getting into a significant break, and, well, somewhat surprising that the VF Group Bardiani didn't chase. And after that stage, well, the yellow jersey was handed over to Jefferson Cepeda, and he's defended it nicely over the last couple of days, well, certainly yesterday, looking like he will defend it today too, with the work of his teammates sitting there on the front. So just 18 seconds back, so you do just sense that Lucas De Rossi will be swallowed up here. Then it's a case of whether he can actually hang on in these testing conditions. We have got a small group left, and the rest of the peloton, well, it's been blowing across this plateau. Which, if it was come down to a sprint and Jensen Plowright's not in there, you'd probably put your money on the defending Tour champion from last year, Henok mulbrhan. He is the complete bike rider. He's an outstanding sprinter. Mind you, we did see Eric Fagundes win stage 2, so he also has the ability. It's just how much does he have in the legs after being part of the break for so much of the day. Really, it's just his job to sit back and recover, eat, drink. Let the boys from Kaha Rural, he'll say to himself, well, you know what, I might not end up ultimately winning the war, but I'll be quite keen to come away with a couple of victories in some small battles. He won stage 2. Can he win stage 6? So Astana have 2 riders in that group with Henok Mulbrhan in the green jersey. Kaha Rural have 3 riders in this break, in this lead group. Might even be a 3rd Astana rider sitting there at the back, possibly the VF Group Bardiani rider. Just hard to differentiate the colours at times, particularly through this tunnel. I've got to say, some of the engineering up here in this part of China, just tunnels like this, 10 kilometres long. We were here last year, and one thing that we've noticed this year was the power line, the giant power line poles that had been put in throughout the entire region in some of the most precarious places, and all done within 12 months. So pylons look all very new. Just this constant progression that China seems to be making in every region. So still Lucas De Rossi, still out there on his own. He'll be pretty happy because that descent starts now, but wet conditions will just have to be potentially just tapping the brakes, even though they are disc brakes, trying to avoid any paint. So you do sense now that this stage will come down to this small group of riders. As that temperature drops down to 9 degrees, I can say that where we are sitting at the finish line here in the alpine village of Kian, it is certainly a lot warmer. You can walk around in a t-shirt. As mentioned, it's a pretty good descent. There are just a couple of niggly little tight turns towards the bottom. One of the, I guess, concerns for these riders is because of the nature of the season, they don't necessarily get to come over here and do any homework, do any sort of reconnaissance in terms of the climbs and the descents. Clearly, at the highest level of cycling, those that are trying to win the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, well, they'll be given that opportunity and they will come and check out the stages, and there'll be a lot of data provided to them. And I'd imagine they'll be hitting speeds here close to 100 kilometres an hour. So I can tell you that Henok Mulbrhan is in that group, Eric Fagundes, Mario Aparicio, Jefferson Cepeda, Guillermo Silva, Saeed Savrade, the leading Asian rider, we're told is still in that group. We will confirm that for you. And a number of riders here from VF Group Bardiani. You would imagine that in that group, the riders from VF Bardiani, that Manuele Tarozzi is part of this group, an outstanding climber, did wear the yellow jersey. Many people felt that it was probably theirs to lose, and they did find a way to hand it over to the boys from Kaha Rural and put it on the shoulders of Jefferson Cepeda. I'd imagine they probably did a lot of soul searching that night They had the numbers in the peloton. The peloton was big enough to chase down the 2-minute gap, but for some reason it just never happened. As they say, the rest is history. So this is just another one of the groups trying to bridge up. Very much look like a rider from the Marszów team out of Poland. Great to have them riding. As mentioned, 31 different countries represented at this year's tour of Jinghai Lake. They'll be enjoying this, just asking to come through, do some work. So 29.2 kilometres remain. Yeah, wonderful bike handling skills being demonstrated and shown here by all the riders. They'll be enjoying this. It's been such a brutal 5 days so far. Last year, when they finished in the city of Kia, it was a sprint finish, and it was won by Enrico Zanincello, part of the VF Group Bardiani team. Who's had Uskatel Uskadi in last year's tour. Yeli Henok from Ablock, who is in the tour this year. Of course, the Ablock team is no longer in terms of its name. And this year, they wear all green and go under the name Sorry, just a breakdown there in the communication, just saying that, yeah, last year Ablock, this year known as Park Hotel Valkenburg. And so, very, very good Martin Rassenberg and Nils Sinchik, very aggressive bike rider. Jesper Rasch, Mathis Envance, another Belgian rider riding for Park Hotel Valkenburg this year. See, Savardez sits there on the front in the blue jersey, the leading Asian rider. Kaha well represented. Henok Mulbrhan sitting back there. Our yellow jersey leader, Jefferson Cepeda, in the group. 2017 winner of this tour, Jonathan Monsalve. Wouldn't it be great to see him win a stage? He's already etched his name in the history book of this wonderful event. As mentioned, the geography does change very quickly soon. Starts to get a real sort of North American alpine feel about it, a European feel. We start to see the pine trees begin to come into, so they start to become more prevalent. Two members here of that VF Bardiani group struggling to get onto this group, doing everything they can. Love to be a part of it, not far behind. So Astana on the front. So we're not going to see a real change in GC because all the major hitters appear to be in this group. Maybe other than Manuele Tarozzi, who did wear the yellow jersey. But certainly in terms of Eric Fagundes, Henok Mulbrhan, both there. Yellow jersey. Really, they're probably the big three. They're the three that probably genuinely can challenge for GC. When you look at their ability across 8 days in terms of their climbing, their time trial ability, i.e. their strength, and also their ability to sprint. This is the second chase group on the road. Just a couple of little niggly corners to come, which will test their bike handling skills. They'll see the riders in the front, so they do have a target. So Alpes and de Koenig having a rider in that lead group. Try and pick up those numbers for you. Can tell you that the Kaha rural rider is Guillermo Silva along with Jefferson Cepeda. So 68 kilometres an hour. You can just see the height of the mountains in the background. They're still sitting here at around 10,000 feet. They're starting to drop down to just under 9,000 feet where the finish line is. It does flatten out in the last 5 to 6 kilometres of this particular stage. Lovely shot there. And it does look like, in fact, this chase group might just get on. Big push coming from this rider from Shafsa Sertse, the Polish rider. Sitting also in that group. There's Norbert Banaszek. He is the road racing champion of Poland. In fact, he won the National Poland Road Racing Championships back in 2022, 2024. Did Banaszek. So the opposite de Koenig rider sitting in that group is Sen Leisen, Belgian rider, number 12. And we can just see there in the distance, can't we? Just off the back, desperately trying to get in is the VF Group Bardiani team. Now, that's Eric Zanincello. He does have an opportunity to win this stage. Outstanding sprinter. 4th on GC last year overall. Manuele Tarozzi, well, he's already won a stage. So Does he have the ability to win a second stage? Luca Kolnagi, another one of that very strong VF Group Bardiani team. Ricardo Luca desperately trying to bridge the gap, but the pace is on, folks, and now you can start to see the weather clear. That alpine environment now starts to come in. You start to see the pine trees, and they're starting to realise that it's not just, it's now becoming a lot more tactical, getting closer and closer to the finish line, and it's a wonderful, wonderful downtown here in this alpine village of Kian. Wonderful crowd out. It's got a lot of real character, surrounded by big, big mountains. And Team Korotek looking to try and go to the front. In fact, the chasing group, my apologies, Jensen Plowright there from Alpes into Kunik, I'd imagine is in that group, the winner of stage yesterday. He was certainly in the main peloton for much of it. It's when the Crosswinds came up and split it into three different groups. We saw Plowright, he is a pure sprinter, basically wave the white flag and say, look, I just simply can't live here. And now very much looking like we'll have two more riders join this group. Two more of the Astana boys, which would be great for Henok Mulbrhan because he'll want some numbers. He'll want a bit of lead out train. He's got the ability to win the stage, the man from Eritrea. And this is where it does just get a little bit technical. This is where they do just have to tap the brakes a little bit more. We talked about a couple of tricky little corners. This is one of them. All of them negotiated it well. And so good performance here from the two VF Group Bardiani boys to get back on. These riders realise now it will come down to a sprint finish. I'm not too, I don't think Kaha Rural are overly concerned with they win the sprint today. They just want to make sure they retain that yellow jersey with 2 stages to go. And once again, Jefferson Cepeda just sitting comfortably back there in the yellow jersey, making sure that he does stay out of trouble. So there's the rest of the peloton or the chase group. Included in that chase group, Mario Aprizio, the King of the Mountains wearer, the polka dot jersey. So somewhat surprised that he hasn't had the leads or the ability today to stick with this lead group. But sometimes that's the nature of bike racing, isn't it? You can have 3 good days. You probably know at some point the bad day is coming. So just trying to, there is Henok Mulbrhan in the green jersey, the man from the African Continental Champion. Winner of this tour last year. Rode the Giro d'Italia earlier in the year. And now this big man from Mashofsa Sertse Polish team. Just a little bit of a flick of the elbow, come through, do a little bit of work, and now Bengal go to the front. And so that is David Persico, who yesterday finished second in the stage behind Jensen Plowright, so certainly has the ability to win the stage today, knowing that Jensen Plowright is not part of this group. We'll just now start to see just a little bit of disorganisation again. Just over 10 kilometres remaining. Come down from almost 13,000 feet to just below 9,000 feet. There is that rapeseed in to the left, the yellow flowers, which is so synonymous for this particular region of China. Just see that group there in the background. Significant. Henok mulbrhan has a little bit of a look around. Still Kaha Rural on the front. Absolutely just drilling at nice high cadence, well above 100 revolutions per minute. And now VF Group Bardiani decide to come through. Looking to continue the work. And another one of the very good sprinters there is Sen Leeson for Helperson de Koenig. We mentioned Banishchek from Crosswinds, Polish national colours. Of course, if you win the national championship of your country, your road race, then you can incorporate those colours into your trade team. Very prestigious for trade teams to have a national champion within their ranks. So number 63, Filippo Mugli for VF Group Bardiani, sitting there nicely. Now, does anyone look to try and attack the small group here and look to try and get up the road themselves and see if they can maybe steal a stage win? I don't think they're going to do it on their own. They might be able to do it 2s and 3s, but it just looks like there is just a number of teams that have 1 or 2 riders in this lead group who do have the ability to chase anything down if they need to. I would imagine the Astana boys will be looking to try and set this up for Henok mulbrhan. He is a very, very good sprinter, considering how well he climbs. And there is mulbrhan just getting the chip. Also got Budzinski from Marshowska Sertse in as well. So 2 of the Polish team, this big group, that gives them an opportunity to certainly win the sprint. Now Henok mulbrhan just wanting to get rid of the jacket, not getting the urgency he needs at the moment. Just got to be careful with that team vehicle. Job done. Now he gets to focus, he gets poised, he's got time to just get himself set. He'll be on the radio, he'll be talking with his fellow teammates from Astana who still remain in this leading group. Vinny Gourmet, his fellow countryman, winning his 3rd stage overnight in the Tour de France. Wouldn't it be great for Eritrea? Could pick up a stage victory today. And I tell you what, suddenly the sleeping giant that is the African nation is slowly beginning to wake, and you just wonder for the likes of Vinny Gourmet and Henok mulbrhan, their real legacy is the inspiration that they will provide to the next generation of riders. And you just wonder how the peloton might look in 20 years from now in regards to the mix and the makeup, traditionally being Europe, then we saw North America, then we've seen South America come into it. And I guess the rest of the world's been waiting for Asia and Africa. And you do just sense that with likes of Vinny Gourmet and Henok mulbrhan, well, that day's not too far away. And arguably, it's already greater critical mass in the major bike tours around the world out of Africa. Look out. So now 6.1 kilometres to go. It is just a lovely, lovely part of China. It is simply stunning. Who grabs the stage? Will it be Henok mulbrhan? will it go possibly the way of David Persico for Bengal, who finished second last year in the stage? Two Bengal riders there. They were superb yesterday in the sprint. Alexander Selby, third yesterday. Selby out of Denmark for the Bengal in the fluorescent coloured tops. Persico, the Italian. Look at the scenery, folks. Absolutely stunning. Large crowd waits, large crowd gathers in this alpine village. No one is keen. The right-hand turn. We'll go through a little tunnel. And then it is game on. So just get an idea of the speeds they are riding at. So VF Group Bardiani on the front doing all the work. So certainly Guillermo Silva has an opportunity along with his teammate Helmi Gardeno. They are the two riders from VF Group Bardiani that have been on the front. Trying to confirm the two riders for you folks that represent Bengal, but we would assume that David Persico might be one of them, possibly Alexander Selby. The question is, at the moment, we're not talking about Henok Mulbrhan, are we? What point does he make his move? The continental African champion, the defending champion of this tour. Also got Sen Layson from Alpecin de Koning, another rider who has the ability to steal the sprint. Eric Fagundes is still sitting there from Burgos. Has already had a stage victory. 2.4 kilometres to go. Absolutely beautiful road. Settle back, folks. Here we go. The lead-out train is on its way. VF Bardiani looking to try and steal this one. They have Enrico Zanincello in that group. Henok Mulbrhan there in the green jersey, set and poised. He'll look to try and jump onto the wheel of the VF Group boys. And now things start to get a bit more tactical. Game of cat and mouse. Coming up to the final 1 kilometre. So Enrico Zanincello is there, number 67, has an opportunity for VF Bardiani. Can he grab it? Immediately, we do see and Okamika for Burgos come across and just disrupt a little bit. He's got Eric Fagundes in that group, and now it might just be Fagundes on the front looking to try and drive it just to see if he can just get a little bit more buy-in. Keeping the eye here on Eric Zanincello, though. Number 67 for VF Bardiani. But you'd also expect to see Henok Mulbrhan. He'll begin to make his move shortly. So they're inside the 1 kilometre to go. Astana looking to try and lead this out now. Burgos second wheel. Bardiani third wheel. Burgos sitting in fourth. Alpecin de Koning, they're set to go too with Sen Layson. somewhat pedestrian this close to the finish of a sprint stage. And now Enrico Zinnochello begins to make his way towards the front. Number 67. They'll spin around. They'll see the finish line in the distance. Who goes first? Who attacks down the outside? Who attacks down the inside? Looks like a little bit of an effort. And here comes a big attack down the left-hand side. Who's going to look to try and jump across? Right. Nobody's chasing. Now some urgency starts to keep creeping. Oh, this is a really, really good piece of fighting from a particular rider, trying to steal the stage. One of the riders from Car Rural might just have enough here too. Now the hunt is on. Enrico Zinnochello is the man that VF Group Bardiani are looking to try and ride for. Here comes the pain train, folks. Settle back. It's going to be sprints. Another very close finish. Zinnochello, they're going to launch him. He's going to look for the stage victory. Here comes Henok mulbrhan. It's a slight uphill finish. Mulbrhan attacks down the outside too. The African Continental Champion, the defending champion, but it might just be Enrico Zinnochello who will take it, or will it be, in fact, across the other side? It might have just gone the way of bingo. Possibly David Persico might have just got there. We'll have to wait. We'll have to confirm it, folks. But that is a very, very good performance. And David Persico, I think, who finished second yesterday, wins the stage narrowly over the defending champion, Henok mulbrhan, and Enrico Zinnochello. Well, what a ride from second and third yesterday. We haven't really seen a lot of them so far in the tour, but they grabbed the big one. They grabbed the important one. And how much does that mean to him? What an outstanding team effort. Patient all day, brilliant when it counted, and they got the jump. And that, folks, is how you win a sprint. The Carhartt Rural, very, very ominous. Cannot see this man at this point, with the stages remaining, Jefferson Cepeda losing the yellow jersey. And you can just see the carnage in the background, just how tough that stage was. So we go back, have a look here. So rider 46 is Jochen Mugiyade from Carhartt Rural. Then we see the big lead-out train coming. It was always going to be set up for Enrico Zinnochello there, number 67. Great piece of lead-out work from Margley. But just sitting back poised like a coiled spring, waiting to explode, was David Persico. And there he comes, number 23, the number of Michael Jordan, just peels down the outside. Big challenge also coming there from Henok mulbrhan in the green jersey. But he just gets it done narrowly over Enrico Zinnochello. Outstanding performance from the Bengal team. And you forgive them for maybe not putting the arms up immediately, but these athletes simply are in such a state of hypoxia